What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the factions in Modern Warfare, and we've actually got some new information regarding these factions and how they may work. Now before we get into that, I know, same gameplay you've seen in so many videos. I realize this is probably getting old, but at the same time, this is all we've got right now for gameplay until next week, which is the big multiplayer reveal on August 1st, and I'm actually really happy to announce that I will be attending the event to capture some gameplay next week, and therefore I will have some actual fresh gameplay of my own that I'll be able to share with you guys, and I'm really excited for that. There's a lot that's going to be revealed, and I'm just really excited to bring that to you guys. But with that, let's hop into today's topic, and this is about factions in Modern Warfare, and we now know there are two primary factions. We've got Coalition and Allegiance. However, within each of those large factions, we have smaller factions as well. So the way I look at this is it's kind of like the Allies versus Axis that we had back in World War II. So there's two main sides, but then within each of those sides, we have the sub-factions. So today, with those invites that were sent out to creators like myself, I haven't received mine in the mail yet, but I know it's on the way. My flights are all booked, so I know I'm going. I just don't have my physical invite yet. But with Charlie Intel's invitation, for instance, right here, you can see that Coalition and Allegiance show up there, and you can see the emblems or badges for those different factions. Additionally, on Reddit, this image was posted here. I don't know the original source of this because the person on Reddit that posted it didn't mention a source. So I'm just going to leave the Reddit post as the source for this. But we have all of these emblems that were posted for Modern Warfare, and they seem to be referring to the factions and sub-factions. On the top, you can actually see we have the Allegiance and the Coalition badges. And then underneath those, presumably those will be the sub-factions that are within those sides. So on the left-hand side, we have all the Allegiance sub-factions, and on the right-hand side, we have the Coalition sub-factions. Now, interestingly enough, these actually line up with a promotional image from quite a while back when they first announced Modern Warfare. We have this operator pack that they were marketing for a, deluxe version of the game or something like that. And with this, in the background for each one of these operators, we have those badges for the sub-factions that we saw in that previous image. So the first one here in the Crew Expendable pack, that appears to be like a British Special Forces, so something like an SAS sort of a thing, although it's technically not SAS, it looks like it would be modeled around SAS. And this very well could be Task Force 141, which we've seen in the previous Modern Warfare games as well. This emblem does share some similarities to the traditional Task Force 141 emblem. However, it's not exactly the same. It could just be like a more modernized and reimagined version of that. And I'm sort of leaning towards that because I doubt there would be Task Force 141 and then also another faction that is supposed to be like the SAS operators. So I am leaning towards this being Task Force 141. Next, this one actually appeared on the Allegiance side, and this one has a gargoyle on it, and we also saw this gargoyle patch in the Modern Warfare trailer that we got on this female soldier that was going to be jumping out of the plane. And this is interesting to point out because that shows that the Allegiance side, which are going to be the quote-unquote bad guys, at least from your perspective as you're playing through the game, they are going to have Tier 1 operators as well with really fancy modern equipment. It's not just going to be those freedom fighters with really low-tech sort of things and just having like AK-47s, for instance. There are actually going to be Tier 1 operators on both sides, and this does align with what Infinity Ward was saying when I was visiting the studio for their campaign presentation. They did mention that there would be situations where it's Tier 1 operators versus other Tier 1 operators. But finally, this leaves us with that third operator that we saw within that promotional image, and this one is going to be on the Coalition side, and this appears to be some form of US Special Forces. And this could actually align with that little teaser that we got yesterday, where they showed how you enter this multiplayer map in a helicopter at the beginning of the game for the countdown. And in this, it says Coalition, and then it also says at the bottom, Warcom 23rd Battalion. So it appears that Warcom could be one of those sub-factions, and it could actually be the one that lines up with that Warpig operator pack that we saw. So getting back to that original image that seemed to show off all of the sub-factions, that just leaves us with 3 of these emblems that are currently unknown, that I'm sure we'll find out more about in the big reveal next week. Now on top of these emblems and everything that I've shared here with these images, we also have a little bit of information directly from a developer at Infinity Ward, from Joel Emsley or Art Peasant on Reddit. And he goes on to explain here that there are super factions, which are going to be Allegiance and Coalition. Those are the eastern and western parts of the globe, and they're there because they needed two opposing forces to hang over everything when it comes to the story. He went on to say this allows us to have sub-faction squads, which goes with everything I've been saying in this video, so we do have those sub-factions under each of those Allegiance and Coalition side. And these sub-factions can be specific traditional squads or special forces multinationals like a task force. For example, in reality, SEAL squads might add a PJ for a medic or an Air Force member for comms or airstrikes. He then says that there's a lot of cool depth and lore with their operator teams. And also after that, he did clarify that by saying medic or comms, he's not referring to classes like an RPG, so you don't have like a healing faction or like a magic faction, for instance. And I think that's just clarifying that it's not going to be like the division system from COD World War II, where choosing a particular faction or ending up on a particular faction will directly affect any sort of gameplay. It's simply going to be more story-driven when it comes to that, and it's not going to directly affect your gameplay abilities within multiplayer. So that's all the information we currently have about the factions. And the first thing that popped into my mind when I started seeing these emblems was mission teams from Infinite Warfare, which is Infinity Ward's most recent title. And this does leave some opportunity for something like that with Modern Warfare, which I think would be really cool. For those of you guys that didn't know, in Infinite Warfare you had mission teams, and with these mission teams you would get specific challenges that you could work towards by selecting that mission team. And this had no impact whatsoever on your gameplay while playing Infinite Warfare, but you could level these mission teams up and complete these challenges alongside your standard multiplayer levels, and in doing so, it would give you certain cosmetic rewards. And I felt that this system in Infinite Warfare was great for adding depth to the overall grind and experience throughout the game. Not only do you have your standard levels you work towards, which unlock like create a class items for instance, you could also level up these mission teams, which would give you various other rewards that didn't directly affect your gameplay. So after seeing all these badges and these factions and sub-factions, that does give me a little bit of hope that we might see something somewhat similar to the mission teams from Infinite Warfare. However, at the same time, I could be completely off on that. That part is speculation. Perhaps it's just going to be like we saw in the past where when you spawn into the map, it's predetermined one side is going to be one particular faction and the other side of the map will be another faction, and you have no real choice or control over that. It really could go either way. It could be like that, or like I said, maybe it is something like mission teams. We'll just have to wait and find out. I'm sure we'll find out more information next week. But with that, that's pretty much everything I wanted to mention in today's video. Like I said, I'll have some brand new gameplay that I'll be able to share with you guys next week. I'm really excited for that one. And I should also give you a heads up for those of you guys that tune into my live streams on Twitch, which, by the way, if you guys haven't yet, you probably should do that. I will leave that link down below. But earlier this week, while I'm in LA, I will have no live streams for you guys, unfortunately, just because I will be traveling, and I don't have a setup that allows me to stream while on the road. But with that, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about these factions so far? First off, do you guys have any speculation as to what the other sub-factions could be? And second, how do you think these factions will be implemented into multiplayer? Do you think they will be like mission teams from Infinite Warfare? Or do you think it's just going to be that standard faction system that we used to see in the previous Modern Warfare games? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.